Hey there, and welcome on back. As always, I'm Carl with Target's Attitude, absent-minded professor of knives and everything sharp. Pull up a chair, sit on the floor, get your pens and papers out. Class is about to begin. Today, we're looking at sheaths. Yes, sheaths, or more specifically, common materials used to make sheaths nowadays. But before we get into the topic, let's get the syllabus work out of the way, shall we? If you're new to the channel, welcome. Here on Mondays, we do knife basics, what you really need to know. It's aimed at more of the novice in the knife world, those who are just getting into it, just finding about the joy of collecting, and want to know what we're talking about when we start using some of our big, long words and arcane knowledge. It also has some information that will help the person who's been here for a while, and occasionally, even I learn something. So, on Fridays, we do knife reviews. Well, mainly knife reviews. Occasionally, I'll do a review of some bit of camping or survival gear. You know, canteens, compasses, cooking equipment, that sort of thing. But mainly knives. For those of you who have been with us for a while, welcome on back. I'm glad you made it back. Got just one question for you. Have you subscribed yet? No? You haven't? Why not? Come on. Keep telling you, it's so bloody simple. All you have to do is hit that button right down there. Then you hit the bell next to it. That way you get notified every time I put up a neat new video. It's a win-win situation. You win because you don't you don't miss any of the neat new videos I put out. I win because, let's be honest, the more subscribers I have, the easier it is to get all these neat new things. But enough of that. You will or you won't. I hope you do. But let's get on to today's subject. Knives are probably one of the world's oldest tools. Men have been making knives ever since they first chipped an edge onto a piece of flint rock or obsidian. And they're beautiful. But you know, you can't carry a sharp object like this easily unless it either folds into the handle or you've got a sheath of some sort to put it in. Well, just as old as knives themselves is leather. And, I mean, leather is still a very popular choice for knife sheaths. It's beautiful. It smells good. It lasts quite a long time, especially if you take good care of it. Oil it regularly. Treat it with things like mink oil or, excuse me, I'm hiccuping, or some of the newer modern leather treatments. Keep it clean. The sheath might actually outlast the knife. You never know. And there are some advantages to leather. For one thing, it's plentiful. It's a renewable resource. I mean, as long as there's animals out there, their skins to tan to make into leather. It does a good job of protecting the knife. A good way. It's very easy to modify. This one is made to hang on your belt, just like the other one I just showed you. But there's also Scout style, where it's made so that the sheath can go this way. And it's just good, sturdy protection. But that's not the only thing you can use for making sheaths out of nowadays. And not for a long time, actually. I mean, this one's in a nylon sheath. Now, admittedly, when I first started in the knife world back in the 70s, for the most part, the only knives you saw in nylon were machetes. But it's cheap, it's easy to work. Excuse me. It stands up to the elements well. If it gets wet, it doesn't hold on to the water. It just lets it run right out. It's not going to deform. Like leather, it's handles cold and heat fairly well. Like leather, it's easily formed. And it's just generally a reliable sheath material that will protect your knife. Only real drawback is that, well, if your nylon sheath is a little too tight or your knife is a little too sharp, you could end up cutting through the sheath when you're drawing or putting your knife back away in a hurry. It has happened to a couple of my friends. Never to me yet, but it has happened to a couple of my friends. Kind of annoying to cut through your sheath and then you're stuck trying to carry a knife with nothing to carry it in. One of the more popular products right now is Kydex. Admittedly, this is a Crocodile Dundee type knife, but the advantage of Kydex is it's what's called a thermoplastic, which means that you provide a little bit of heat and you can mold it straight to the knife and it's going to hold the shape afterwards, which means you can make it fit so tightly that your knife's not coming out until you actually pull it out. For those of you who haven't used Kydex sheaths often, simplest way to get a knife out of it, put your thumb right there and push with your thumb as you pull. And I mean, these things are great. They're quick, they're easy to make. You can put all sorts of attachments on them for attachment to your belt or your backpack or vests, whatever you need to attach them to. You can put in some sort of clip on here to attach it quick and easy. And with some of them, you can even turn the clip around. Makes it quite nice. It's very sturdy, does a great job of protecting your knife. And as long as they put a drainage hole like this one has right there in it, even if you get this thing filled up with water, the water's going to drain right out, so you don't end up with your knife soaking in a container of water. That's one slight disadvantage with leather. If it gets wet, it just grabs and holds onto that moisture like nobody's business. So then you get moist product held right up against your knife. And yeah, that's not great for the knife. Disadvantage to Kydex? Well, for one thing, most of the time you've got a choice. Flat black or glossy black. Yes, they do make some other colors, and you can find a couple companies that will make custom sheaths for you in a variety of patterns. I saw one company that was making Kydex sheaths that had the Punisher skull embossed on them. You could get your company logo embossed on it. All sorts of neat things. And for the manufacturer, it's great, because Kydex comes in square or rectangular sheets. Perfectly square or rectangular, any size you need, any size you want. So it's very easy to lay out and have a machine stamp out the pieces and press them into shape. With leather, it comes from, it's a natural product. And just as no two humans are the same, no two animals are the same. So even if all your sheaths are made out of cowhide, every piece of cowhide is going to be slightly different. Legs are going to be slightly different in offset. It's going to be a little wider or a little narrower, or a little longer or a little shorter. Makes it hard to program your machines to get the absolute most out of every piece of leather. so you're going to have more scrap with leather than with Kydex. Another problem, well, no, not really a problem. Never mind. Another thing that you will see is injection molded sheaths, like this one on this little boot knife. These again they're reasonably tough. They again can be molded straight to the blade so that your blade's not going to come out of that without any problem. Up until recently, most injection molded sheaths were only on lower end knives. For instance, this one is a Smith & Wesson that'll run you right around $20 to $23. Not going to expect that great a sheath out of that price. But it doesn't have to be. I mean, let's face it, they use injection molded cases for some pretty high-end pieces of equipment, like this digital excuse me, I just went blank on the name, but yeah, this micrometer, digital micrometer, and this was not cheap, but it came in an injection molded case, and the same can be true of knives. This one from Spartan Blades, some of them are Kydex, not all of them. This one is injection molded, and you know what? It's a whole lot better of a sheath than that little one for the Smith & Wesson. Yeah, I can talk. But it's molded straight to the knife. You can see just how well it fits. And all that's holding that in there really is the fact that it's molded to the knife. But you're not getting it out. And like with Kydex, this particular one, you can move that belt loop attachment around so that instead of hanging from your belt, you can turn it to have it scalp mounted without any problem whatsoever. Very simple, very easy to do. You just move 4 screws. The big drawback with molded or injection molded plastic is that if they start cutting too many corners, you get a cheap plastic that's going to be less able to deal with cold weather or excessive heat than Kydex or leather or even nylon, which means your sheath could end up cracking. And let's face it, if this thing cracks, you're going to end up with parts scattered all over the place. And once again, a knife that you can't carry because you don't have any way to carry it safely. Unless you want to hold it in your hand the whole time. Not exactly recommended. So that's the 4 major types of sheaths, right? Well, yeah and no. There's one more. So admittedly, you're not going to see this type very often unless you're into collecting Militaria, because it's most often used for bayonets and military knives, such as this one. This is a German knife, and it is a sweet knife. Yeah, this one is, as a matter of fact, you can see right there on the blade, made in Germany. I really love this knife. I'd prefer it not to be partially serrated, but you know, that was the only way they made this knife in the year I got it. But what's interesting about the sheath is it's got nylon backing, and it's set up so that you do indeed have multi-strapping here. So you can go ahead and modify the way the strap goes through so that you can attach it to your backpack or your assault vest or what have you. But then you've got the actual sheath that the knife goes on, which is, okay, there's a snap there that is just stuck. It won't let me take it off, but yeah. This part is metal. It's got a plastic coating over top, but it's still metal. Excellent sheath as far as durability. I mean, yeah, it can get scratched up, but unless you run a truck over it, you're not going to damage the sheath itself. There's got a spring-loaded clip inside of it so that once you put the knife in, again, it's not going anywhere. With a leather sheath, I'm sorry, unless you've got a strap on it, you're not going to be able to turn it upside down, have this work anywhere near as well. And it's an interesting type of sheath. As I say, you're normally going to see this only in military style knives and bayonets. But it's still one you need to watch for. And as I say, does a great job of protecting the knife. And that's the main reason you want a sheath in the first place, isn't it? To protect your knife while it's in storage, and give it an easy way to carry. So, pretty straightforward this week. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a little bit about sheaths. You've got to have some way to carry your sheath knife after all. And if you did, great. Hope you come back again. And if you didn't, well, hopefully you'll learn something next time. In the meantime, I'll leave you with a couple videos over here that you might find interesting. As always, you hit this target right over here. You can subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Meantime, take care. Bye now.